Okay, this is part two of how to see bad marriages and relationships in astrology. In this video, I want to focus on the relationship aspect. I wanted to use the Mars example again of how Mars causes a lot of arguments and fights in relationships when it's placed in the 11th or the 5th house. A lot of astrologers, or so-called astrologers, I see that they misuse the aspect. They don't mention how planets placed in one house as an aspect onto the house that's opposite it. So I want to use Mars in the 11th house as an example of how Mars in the 11th house can still impact relationships because it aspects the 5th house of relationships. I needed some candidates for this, and I wanted to test it out when it happened during the Mars Antardasha, when arguments or whatever issues in the relationship would happen in the Mars Antardasha. And I couldn't find any good candidates. It took too long. The first one that came up was when I went on the AstroSeek website. I saw Demi Lovato and Selena Gomez, so I chose Selena Gomez. I don't know too much about her relationships, but I know who she is because she has a pretty face and I remembered the face. Alright, looking at her sidereal chart, you see that Mars rules her 5th house. The rulership happens because Mars rules that Scorpio sign at 8th house. Things of the 5th house go into the 11th house of social media and followers on social media. So for sure that relationships would be deeply impacted by this Mars placement without a doubt. Before I go into our relationships, I wanted to mention how a chart obviously shows a marriage because of that Saturn in the 7th house, Saturn being in its own sign. And so I was looking at it and I see that one of the great time periods that she can meet a spouse or fiance would have been recently when Mars the transit Libra and Sidereal, which was about October 3rd to November. And I see recently in December 2023 she announced that she's in a relationship. So if her and this guy met each other back in October or November when Mars was transiting Libra and Sidereal, that person Benny Flacco, I think is his name or something like that, he's very likely to be on that spouse. What if it isn't him though? I saw how when Mars transit Capricorn next year, which is about February 5th, 2024 to sometime in March, there's another time period that she can meet a spouse. So who knows, what if this guy really is her spouse? Then next year that may be her getting engaged. Who knows? We'll see. But her relationship timing with this guy in particular is just too peculiar for him to just be a regular boyfriend. I think this person that she just got in a relationship with is more so someone that could be a potential husband. One of the reasons why I know all of this is because she's in a Venus Antardasha. Venus represents relationships. So when it's in the 1st or the 7th house, it shows someone is in a relationship with their spouse. Speaking of relationships, let's see how to see bad relationships in astrology, shall we? Well, if you look at that Mars in the 11th house, I tried looking for a time period when it was activated during its Mars Antardasha, but it was too difficult. So I had to research her relationship timelines, and one of the things that came up was her relationship with Justin Bieber. And she mentioned how she dealt with abuse. The website I was on, it didn't say what type of abuse. So I had to keep researching, and then I saw it said emotional abuse. Well, when Mars is in the 11th or the 5th house, it can cause emotional abuse as well because Mars is bringing a lot of anger and builds up tension or builds up aggression wherever it goes. So when someone walks into the room and you're angry with that person, or that person makes you feel angry, that could cause a lot of mental stress, because being around that person gives you an uneasy feeling. So it can cause physical abuse as well as emotional abuse in relationships whenever it's placed in the fifth or the 11th house. Then after that, I tried looking at Demi Lovato's chart for see if she had any issues in relationships, and it's hard to do this, especially looking for when it happened during its Mars Antardasha, because people don't publicize, especially not celebrities, because celebrities, they want their relationships to look fine and dandy to the outside public. It's a lot difficult to see arguments or fights in people's relationships occurring, and not just with celebrity, but just average people in your day-to-day life, because people don't publicize those things. So this research was a bit hard for me to do. I suggest the viewer or listener of this video to do their own research, and when you do your own research, I want you to look at how their answers feel about that particular person, how their answers still seeming like they're angry whenever that person is discussed around them. You'll find a lot when you research what I've researched. I say that because when you research a lot of the relationships, you would see, like in Demi Lovato's case, she had a relationship with a guy by the name of Wilmer. I think that's how to pronounce it. And she mentioned, or at least one of them mentioned, how their relationship was constantly on and off. They break up, then they get back together. So you gotta question, why do a lot of people break up and then they get back together? It tends to be two reasons, two big reasons, either cheating or it's due to arguments. And that's what Mars in the 5th or 11th can cause in relationships. The arguments actually leads to breakup as well. And remember what I mentioned in the first video, fights lead to, arguments lead to fights, fights lead to abuse. So if you have these placements, you also gotta watch out for that. I tried looking at more different charts, and I stumbled across many that weren't what I needed to find. Like Christina Aguilera, you look at her relationship timeline, that was a mess. I mean, the way her actors talk about her was crazy. You thought they was never even in a relationship to begin with, the way they talk about each other. The perfect candidate I came across was this lady by the name of Naomi Watts. Very pretty lady. She had a relationship with a guy by the name of Liev. I don't know how to pronounce it, but someone she met back in 2005. And the reason for their breakup, I would say it's alleged based on a so-called insider source or something like that, that this guy basically had a lot of mood swings. He was angry a lot. The smallest things would set him off. And these are all the effects of when Mars is placed in the 5th or the 11th house, because the person you're dating takes on that Mars energy. They become it in real time. It was just hard for me to find when these arguments would have occurred, because it wasn't publicized for a lot of these people when it was happening. For example, with Naomi Watts, I was looking for the 2011 year to see if any sort of bad things would have happened in a relationship. And it's a relationship too, right? Because they don't marry the person. This is what makes the 5th and the 7th house different. You can't just be in a relationship with someone that you never even married. That doesn't, that they cannot be in the same two houses, the same one house together. It don't make any sense. One house as in the 7th house. I'm speaking astrological terms now. When y'all listen to these astrologists, especially on TikTok, because most of them don't know what they be saying, they mention the 7th house represents relationships. That's false, for sure. Anyways, follow me on the other apps. There will be more videos to come.